So this brings up another interesting question. What exactly is a Manitou? I hadn't heard that word really until I moved to Colorado. And then I started hearing it more often living right next to Manitou Springs. And it just so happened that my professor at the IBA started to briefly mention the Manitou as this sort of Native American shape-shifting creature. So I decided to do my final paper on it, and what I came to find out is that it's just a whole lot more complicated than I thought it was. Turns out the Manitou can mean many different things based on the animistic beliefs of the certain Native Americans in any given region. But typically, the Algonquin people describe the Manitou as a spirit, with the Geechee Manitou being like the great spirit or the creator spirit. In fact, there's the Ojibwe people, and they believe that the Manitou is this great spirit that lives within their being and compels them to live peaceably among others. So when European missionaries came to North America and they sort of encountered the Ojibwe people in their understanding of the Manitou, they're like, that sounds a whole lot like the Holy Spirit. Let me tell you about Jesus Christ and how he sent the Geechee Manitou, and that is how you have access to this spirit. And so actually, to this day, the Ojibwe Bible translation for God is Geechee Manitou, right? They didn't feel the need to change the word because it just meant pretty much the same thing. It just connected together like a puzzle. In other instances, the Manitou was seen as sort of the spirit of the land, the spirit of the river, or the spirit of the wind. In this region, specifically the Pikes Peak region, the Manitou spirit was the mountain. It was Pikes Peak. That was their Manitou. It was the spirit of the mountain. And the people who lived here were called the children of the Manitou. And so they basically worshipped the spirit of the mountain, and in return, the Manitou spirit of Pikes Peak would offer them protection over their enemies. He would offer them a bountiful harvest. He would take care of the people so long as they continued to worship this spirit. One of the more disturbing instances of a Manitou comes from a Jesuit explorer and missionary by the name of Jacques Marquette. He talked about his explorations through North America, and he encountered this native tribe that invited him into a ceremony for their patron Manitou. He didn't want to be rude, he didn't want to upset them, so he took part in this ceremony with them. And so you have these priests, and they have the antler headdresses, and they're covered in ashes, and they're all dancing around this archaic stone temple. And at one point, one of the priests asked Jacques if he wants to go into the temple. And again, he was reluctant, but he didn't want to be rude. And so he goes into the temple. And what he sees in there is this horrific composite. And, it's got the head of a goat with the body of a 6-month baby human, and the ears of a lynx, and its body is covered in fur. And so he's just completely horrified, and he asks the priest, what is this? Where did you find this? And they basically tell him, well, we found it at the foot of this mountain, and when we found it, it began to prophesy judgment over our enemies. And so we decided to take it in as our patron Manitou, right? And so that is extremely disturbing, to say the least. But if you're anything like me, you're going to hear something like that and you're going to think Genesis 6, right? You're going to think sons of God, daughters of men, weird hybrid creatures, because it's all connected. It is my conviction that the biblical text can make sense of the entirety of the spirit world.